Hi everyone. It's December 2, 2022. Maligayang Pasko in advance. Let's discuss today how Filipinos can invest in global stocks via Singapore's Webull app. So for those who have never invested nor traded in the US markets, there are actually many options already available for Filipinos like you and me. One of the platforms that I am actually using and have been using for quite a while now, mga 2 to 3 months na rin, is actually Webull. So for those who aren't aware of who Webull is, let me share the platform and how to utilize that stock exchange. That's a brokerage firm. Okay, so let's go through the Webull. Okay, Webull, I am Awesome10X. And for those who are new, please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you get updates. We do obviously make free Friday classes like the one you're watching now. So Awesome10X Investing has invited you to unlock a $150 cash voucher if you open an account and sign up with Webull on December 1 until December 31, 2022. So basically, for this entire month, you can get free market data, zero commission in your stocks, and a $150 cash voucher. So for some people in the Philippines, how much minimum is it? People are asking me. It's actually $2,000 minimum. So yung cash voucher na yan, actually malaki yan. Kasi when I opened an account, I only got, I think, $50 cash voucher. So other promotions you're seeing here is you're getting cash rewards if you refer a friend, which is what I'm doing now. Now, why choose Webull? Number one, this is true. It is a true zero commission brokerage firm. Zero commission, zero platform fee, zero membership fee, zero commissions for Hong Kong trades. Financing interest for margin trading is as low as 0% for a certain amount of money to. So it's really beneficial if your account is below $10,000. Own fractional shares for as little as $5, and you have full extended hours trading, meaning pre-markets or after markets. For those in the Philippines here, it's gonna be 5 p.m. Philippine time. You can now actually access already the US markets on the pre-market, even if the even in the US, nag-open yan traditionally. Ngayon kasi may daylight savings time. So 10:30 p.m. of the Philippines is actually 9:30 p.m. of New York Stock Exchange. So yes, it is a leading global fintech platform. This has been awarded the best investor community by Stockbroker, 2021 Blenzinga Global Fintech Awards. It is really the zero low cost options trading. Actually, it was like parang maybe 0.5 or $1. But basically, why I like Webull is that indeed cheap fees. So for those who are not aware, I've been using IBKR and eToro. Nonetheless, I have opened a new account with Webull because there's just several functions within Webull that helps my account to also trade better because there's more access to more data, news, like Barron's. You can read that for free within the desktop platform, which I will hopefully share to you today. For those who are asking, how do you open an account when it's a Webull Singapore app? Yes, right now, guys, by using the link I shared, you can only actually access Webull when you're going to trade it. You need to open your account online through the mobile app of Webull Singapore. So when we're in the Philippines, I did have to change my Apple App Store to Singapore region, and then I downloaded the app through Webull. Nonetheless, if you're asking the addresses, everything, it's all in the Philippines that I use since I'm living in the Philippines and I'm a Filipino citizen. So it's not something that is only accessible by Singaporeans. Of course, if you are a Filipino that's residing in Singapore, you want to use the app because, well, it's used also by US. So it's actually a platform that's being used worldwide, but it's very popular currently in Singapore and USA. Now, it's obviously becoming strong na rin in Southeast Asia. So I did try the app initially. I opened the minimum account first of $2,000. If you're asking me how I got to sign up and open the account, I just basically used my dollar account in the Philippines to make a telegraphic transfer towards that. All of the details are within their website in Webull. So how easy is it to basically download the app? As easy as downloading your mobile app. Signing in is just basically giving your contact details, your passport, everything related to yourself, basically personal information, KYC. So since today's topic is how Filipinos can invest in global stocks via Singapore's Webull app, I just want to also share, obviously, my link. So you can see that this is my link, and I'll put it also here within the YouTube app, a.webull.com.sg/i/awesome10x. That would be my referral link. It's zero commissions for USA stocks and options, and I hope that that helps you in case you're wondering which account can I open to basically trade or invest in US stocks globally. By the way, the reason why I also like Webull and why I'm promoting it is because not only do they have cheap fees, and as I said, actually cheap rates, the zero margin rates, I think, is only applicable for a certain dollar amount. It's not, of course, for like an unlimited amount, but I think for like 5 to 10,000, they allow you. So I've yet to actually use the margin. I haven't used their margin facilities yet, although I might actually use it in the next year. We'll see. But I'll show to you what I like within the app. What did I like in the app? Let me share to you. So this is the desktop platform. Kaya ba? Nakikita nyo naman, no? Desktop platform. Yeah, kita. Okay, so let me show to you this. I-big screen ko siya. So this is the Webull platform. What I like about the desktop is that you can see all of your stocks that you have watched. May watch list ka dyan. So you can already see the price changes. So you can already tabulate it from the highest percentage change to the lowest percentage change. So for those Filipinos who are trading globally, I think this is very useful because you can, like ako, for me, I do trade Hong Kong stocks and US markets. So this is definitely very functional kasi within one app, I can already trade both. Actually, I can trade, I think, as many markets as I want. Pero yun lang, only those two are really what's relevant for myself. So hindi ako nagtre-trade ng Singapore names, but I think it's also available within the Webull app. Now, for those who are Filipinos residing in Singapore, it's really very functional kasi you can actually attach your Singapore bank straight within. So madali yung in-out na withdrawal, deposits, etc. Especially if you can just connect your DBS Bank or OCBC. Those are famous Singaporean banks. So those are the top banks in Singapore. Now, in terms of the Philippines, because we are usually, ako gamit natin dito, BDO or BPI or Union Bank, I do have to make a telegraphic transfer, and I can't just, if you're wondering, madali ba, seamless? Personally, I do have to go to the bank physically, so I don't see an online transfer yet. Wala pang method na deposit on your online BDO dollars straight to make a telegraphic transfer to the Webull Singapore app. So we do have to make a telegraphic transfer. I think it cost me $20, yeah, to make a transfer. So it's a fixed fee. It's not that big. What I like, as I said, is ganito siya. So you can see the stock and the charts. Pwede mo yan i-connect, no? So para malaki yung chart mo, ganito siya. So you can clearly see that madali siya. Well, let's say you're gonna choose that simple muna. So let's say Apple. Just type it in like that. I'm gonna show to you how to use the Webull app here. You need to subscribe to level 2 codes to view this data. It's also good actually to use Webull kasi yung level 2 data that's available for free if you trade actively. Pero for my case, since I'm not trading as actively in Webull yet, so hindi ko siya pa ginagamit yung order book. Pero yung order book, usually in IBKR, you have to pay for that data. So that's why I'm saying to you that Webull is basically very useful in terms of tools, a lot of freebies being given for a retail trader like us. And you can see that almost all the basic indicators are here. You can just post your MACD, your usual VWAP. So pwede mo yan in out lang, cancel it, done. You want to put a Bollinger Band, you want to put like usual mga indicators like volume, ayan, nandyan, pivot points. So almost all indicators, they actually have it here. So you can actually use it if you are using technical trading or signals. Now, there's a lot of features, chart layouts. You can make a comparison here. Let's say, take a look at Apple versus the NASDAQ. So you can do that. The stock was for comparison, added successfully. So you're seeing that this is your Apple, which is 10x, and then this is your S&P 500, which is 3x. So over what? 2012 till 2022. So you're already seeing that a lot of people obviously like to buy Apple if they can buy Apple when it goes down, say 25% or 30% below current levels. Okay, so right now, what are the features within Webull that you might want to check out? So I really use Webull mostly for reading the news. You can see the news is here, no? So maraming ways yan. You can actually toggle that. Pwedeng palakihin mo yung chart, pwede mong ilabas yung news, no? Para mas malaki yung chart mo. Or you can just put it like that so that you can clearly see all of the news in one look. Parang Twitter feed mo siya. So you can see, kunwari, ByteDance, Tencent among firms asked by Cyberspace Administration of China, sources Wall Street Journal. So usually, guys, we have to pay for a Wall Street Journal. But within the Webull, if you use it, using really the desktop, kita mo na yan. So you can just read it here. So you can listen to the news. Minsan may mahahabang articles yan, mababasa mo yan. Let me show to you. Kunwari, Baron. Baron, you can't read this if you are using your internet, Safari, Apple Safari, or Google Chrome. But within Webull Desktop, you can actually read it for free. Ayan, nababasa natin. Apple and Elon Musk make a nice walk in the park is better than a brawl. Barons.com. If you want to read it through, nandyan yon. So Bob Iger's Disney Return, Farfetch. What I really like about the Webull app, guys, is that, well, I'm using mostly the desktop platform, pero of course, you can use the desktop, yan, open account to view positions, you can unlock trading. I'm not gonna show to you how, pero it's basically a click lang, trade, buy, sell, order type, quantity, etc. Now for options, this one, I really utilize this. Even, so what I like about Webull is really the options format. Options is available currently in interactive brokers as well. So I've been using the options trading for my IBKR. So one of my favorite looks here is example. Give you an example like Apple. So Apple, let's say we're of the view that Apple could potentially fall from about $150 to, let's say, 120 or 130, no? So you can clearly see that the options are very fascinating here. You can clearly just go, let's say, 1 month option expiring within 49 days. So the 148 currently, then at the money, your cost is 4.9 if you're gonna buy a put. So that's about 3%. Now, if you're gonna go for a lower strike, it's about cheaper price because it's a lower strike within a 50 days standpoint. Like tonight, example, if you're gonna make a 1 day, let's see what's happening on the Apple. So obviously, yung 148. If Apple suddenly goes down to about 145, you can use that 22 cents. Tonight is gonna be the non-farm payroll data, and talagang magdedecay lahat ng below 148, not unless maging in the money tong lahat. So you can clearly see, kahapon pa lang, ayan, bagsakan na, 34, 40, 50, 80%, within a day, because all the options should expire worthless if they are below the strike price of 100 of the stock, diba? So if the stock price is 148, lahat tong strike na to magiging zero if Apple closes end of the day at 148 above. Or it will become all in the money, and ito naman yung magiging out of the money. Ito lahat ng calls magiging zero if, for instance, stock price actually trades below. So interesting yan, diba? So we'll see. Okay, so of course, I'm not really a fan of 1 day to expiry, but it might be an interesting thing to do, to check out if you are fond of looking at how options will move based on the stock price, especially on a non-farm jobs payroll report today. Okay, so are you guys still with me? Yes, there are people listening and watching. If you have questions, please post a comment so that I could read it and actually answer those questions for you. So let's answer the title, How Filipinos Can Invest in Global Stocks via Singapore's Webull app. But before we actually invest, I talked about the features. You need to open an account, definitely. So to open an account, as I said, let me repeat it again. Go to a.webull.com.sg/i/awesome10x. You will be directed to here. Then you click sign up. It's going to be like this. So sign up with your phone number. Of course, we're in the Philippines, so use your Philippine number. So it's a Singapore app. That's why lahat ng mga phone numbers dyan, SG. But don't worry, guys. You can use it even Philippines. So +63 tayo for the Philippines, no? So 63, whatever your phone number is. Okay, let's discuss, guys, now sorry, hindi ko pala na-share, no? So yeah, ito yun. So this is a Webull. This is how it looks like. I think like better to sign up straight kayo. Don't use the desktop if you're gonna, well, pwede rin desktop, but I personally open my account via mobile. Mas madali. You just basically download the Webull app. You can use my link. You download the Webull app in the Apple phone, iPhone Singapore. You can use my link, lahat na nandun. And then mag-download, so meron kang desktop platform, and then open an account on your Webull sa mobile phone. So dito sa phone yung gamitin. Okay. So let's begin in today's topic of how to invest in the future of global markets. Okay. So I, of course, wanted to discuss how to invest in the future by going through this. Here, wait up. Okay, so let's discuss. We talked about investing in global stocks via the Webull app. So let's say you've opened your account already, and okay, so you've opened the account. It looks like this, and then you don't know what to buy, right? So what am I gonna buy? What am I gonna sell? What's gonna happen in my account, etc., etc. So in Webull, you can clearly make a setup list. So for those who are fond of Chinese names, you might be aware of Hai Di Lao Hot Pot, Yum China, which is KFC. They're all listed in Hong Kong. Nong Fu Spring, which is a beverage company. Of course, the largest water company in the US. Let's say you're looking to buy fast retail. It's also listed in Hong Kong. Actually, we can clearly check here 9866, which is Miniso. Sorry, that's Neo. Then you can actually look at you can like type here, no, Miniso is available in two. So it's 9896 or New York Stock Exchange. Let's say you're choosing the Hong Kong. So ganyan, dual listed siya. So yon, it's easy. You can see it all. Nandyan yan. What I like about the Webull platform is pasok yan. So ito yung Hong Kong. Then ito yung US if you're looking at the US markets. And then if you want to find news, nandyan din yan. Just click on the link. Tapos, top 15 trending stocks on Wall Street as of Thursday. Tesla, AMC, Apple, Snowflake, Netflix, QQQs, BlackBerry, Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, Gold, Ulta, Salesforce, Disney, AMD. So you can clearly see that everything is just being given to you by Webull app for free. So if you open an account, just open a minimum account. I think that it's so far one of the best tools for a retail trader who's just, retail. You don't need $100,000 just to access all the apps. All the tools are given for you with a very, very professional type. So maganda siya. You've got the options, you've got your watch list. If you have an account already, you can click my positions and so on. No? So China stocks, if you're buying Chinese names, but I don't look at China, so wala yan. Then the US, pre-markets, now market is open. So nakita na yan, pinto-to. Yan, actually makita mo na yung mga pre-markets. So ngayon, all stocks, if you're doing that, you can already see in the pre-markets. Tama ba to? Success, up 1%. Rivian, up 0.48. Amazon, up 0.19. And then ito. Usually kasi pag pre-markets, hindi pa masyado active yan. So hindi mo pa, but yeah, at least it's relevant that you are aware that, yeah, you can already access pre-markets as early as 5 p.m. Philippine time without daylight savings times. Pero minsan 4 p.m. yan. So it's either 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. or sa US, it's 9:30 p.m. or 10:30 p.m. Philippine time. Okay, so let's go ahead. Now that you've seen how the Webull app and the desktop platform looks like, let's go ahead just to look at how to invest in the future of energy. Let's give you a sector pick here and let's understand this, okay? So we here in Awesome10X have largely been discussing about the climate change crisis as a real secular trend. It is not cyclical. It doesn't matter if the Fed raised the rates to the roof. It doesn't mean that the Fed will actually stop climate change by raising rates or lowering rates. We believe that when it comes to the future of energy, there's something that we take for granted, which is how do we actually survive as a world without investing in it? So if you can look at it, most of the famous energy names that people can understand can be yeah. So I made a list here that you might be interested upon. So Enphase is one of the leaders when it comes to microinverters, and also is one of the biggest proponents right now when it comes to solar panel, solar installation. Basically a one-stop shop for a lot of solar related homes. No, so Enphase. So for the last 3 years, it's actually 12x. And this year, even if the markets were falling 20% on the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, etc., Enphase is actually up 40%. In fact, it has been quite a strong performer year to date, up 70%. Enphase is actually trading near all-time highs. You've got Tesla. Of course, everybody knows Elon Musk. Tesla up 7x over the last 3 years. Year to date, down 40%. 1 year ago, down 40%. And then other names like FCell, Ganfeng Lithium, NEO, SunPower, Plug Power, Albemarle, SQM, which is actually another lithium name. So you'll notice that within the future of energy, I do believe that investing in lithium is part of that sector, because investing in climate change solutions means that you are supposedly going to store that solar energy into a certain storage, right? So you're going to be investing in battery energy storage systems, which generally means that you are investing partially within lithium space. So Ganfeng Lithium, and also, of course, all the electric vehicles would need lithium. So Ganfeng Lithium, Albemarle, SQM. Then you'll see a few functions here like Bloom Energy, ON Semiconductor, which are actually more on the hydrogen gas space. So that's a fuel cell, of course, a different type of renewable energy that's being utilized also. You've got Solar Edge for solar, Sunrun, Sunnova. I think this is more familiar for others. Then the rest of the people may not have been familiar, but Wolfspeed, Sunworks, and Power Integrations are also part of the climate change arena in terms of theme. So let's just give you a few charts here. Now, if you look at the last 7 years, you'll see that Sunrun actually generated quite a substantial move from trading below $10, hit as high as 100. In this year, it fell to $20 and then rallied straight to 30. So your argument right now is, if you believe in the energy transition, by buying at the $30, yes, it's 70% below the peak of 2021, but at 30, that is actually significantly above your last 7-year averages, right? Because your last 7-year averages was probably at a peak of 20. So you do have to understand, what does Sunrun do? Why do you want to buy Sunrun, invest in it in the next 10 years, etc., etc. So look at the charts first, then let's discuss the fundamentals or the theme, why we are looking to invest in the future of energy, which is basically a lot of renewables and also your existing oil and gas. So FCell here, you can see that for the last 7-8 years, this was a company that has been quite volatile, always plagued with whether bankruptcy efforts or dilution of shares. From $30+ fell as low as I think this was centavos, rallied straight back to $30, then back now to about $3. So we're watching these types of names just to see whether FCell, Plug Power, these types of names that have partners in some form of another with Walmart, whether it's actually gaining traction or just a science project. So in terms of a few things, installed capacity, we know that when it comes to solar, although this is not the most updated charts, but this is still 2022 table. You've got China leading the pack in terms of the countries with the most installed capacity in terms of megawatts. So you've got, for those who aren't aware how big a megawatt is, just think about a kilowatt as a house. A megawatt is 1 million houses. So you've got 250,000 megawatts. That means 250,000 installed capacity, which can actually power up 250,000 million homes. No, because 1 megawatt is basically 1 million watts. 1 kilowatt is obviously 1,000 watts. Okay, so you've got United States of America falling behind, then you've got Japan, Germany, India, Italy, Australia, Vietnam, Republic of Korea, and Spain. So that means the solar, actually, for those who aren't aware, solar just comprises about 9% of the total energy consumed, which means that it's still a far cry to going clean energy worldwide. So let's take a look at some of the energy companies that are already not just an oil and gas firm, but also investing in the future. A company like British Petroleum, BP. No? So BP has actually gone from 2020 lows of about 17. So far, it has pretty much doubled, 35. So you can see that Despite the market going up and down, names in the energy space or those who contribute to the future of energy have generally been an outperform. And it's very clear because these are essential products. Where do you get your electricity? Where do you get your mobility? In some way or form, it could have happened from coal, oil, gas, or probably your electricity is solar. Whatever it may be, whatever is powering your home or your car or your engines is likely coming from sources of energy. So we do believe that energy is a secular trend. And when we mean it is secular trend, it will not be affected by your recession, your depression, whatsoever. Because energy as a whole means that we are not going to go back to the primitive era. And if we want to function with our television screens or computers like these, we do need the energy to power up everything that we have in our life. So just open your eyes and look around your home. You can see that without investing in energy, none of that will ever come to be. Your air condition, for instance, will not function without electricity. So if you look at this is quite an old article, but I think it's very important. When you're building a global climate resilience, how governments can adapt and mitigate long-term climate risks, you're seeing actually that leaders around the world have already agreed. The United Nations said that temperatures would inevitably rise above the 1.5 degrees Celsius in Paris Agreement by 2100, the end of the century. So by then, if we don't really act on it, it will basically fry all of us. The heat, even if you say it's just 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Celsius, you will have massive problems in the world in terms of hunger, in terms of your seafood, wildlife all being gone. It is said that an additional 2 degrees Celsius is going to affect at least your seafood coral reefs and dying because of too much heat. And that would affect actually food for 1 billion people. And if you have food for 1 billion people gone, let's say your seafood is gone for 1 billion people, that's worse of an inflation crisis than the current 20% or 10% inflationary expense on food that you are seeing brought about by Russia-Ukraine war and basically lack of supply. So actually, guys, the climate change crisis is something that you cannot actually just forgo, even if you don't see it as an existential risk to you today. Because obviously, the risks will be apparent more blatantly in 2030, 10 years from now. Actually, it's already happening. Like in California, wildfires are 5 times more frequent rather than in the past 10 years. And even the Philippines, for those who are aware, the constant rainfall every burst season, right, is really becoming harder and harder for farmers, which are, they're doing all they can, but their crops can get like just tropical storms can just affect your crops too fast and actually kill those either in severe drought or heavy rainfall. So you're really seeing that global climate change is actually quite an inflationary aspect that is quite a secular problem. When I say secular problem, it's actually going to last you more decades than just years. So at least 10 years or 20 years and so on. And this is really a huge problem. I do believe that we are in a secular inflationary crisis, or there's an inflationary problem because of the lack of supply brought about largely by climate change and also population. We do have about 7 billion people today, and we'll probably feed 10 billion people roughly within 10 years. So we need to serve them food, and we need to serve them cheap food, cheap electricity, cheap things. No, so how can we do that? So one of the ways that we can address that is, of course, to add more solar into our system. So in the last 10 years, there was a projection that solar PV capacity in terms of megawatts would power up about 64 million US homes if we were to grow from about the current 50,000 to times 7 to 330,000 megawatts. So you're seeing that US still has a lot to work upon because even US is still just about less than 2% penetration rate, I believe, in terms of the millions of homes that are there. So actual solar photovoltaic capacity, this was the projection, and then this is what was achieved. So good for US, but actually that is still very far from what is needed. installed globally is now enough to power about 91 million homes. That is installation. Guys, one thing that I have to also explain is that when they say installed capacity, only 30% or sometimes 25% is utilized because the sun does not shine all throughout the day. It's not a 24-hour sunshine. You've got the evening wherein it's midnight and then there's no sun. So, and then we also so far haven't had enough grids to distribute all of the solars that are installed in the US, for instance. So there's still a lot of work to do. In 2018, this was the new power capacity added to the grid. Small solar was 14, big solar is 15, totaling 30%. This is your gas. China, of course, wants to win in the future of energy, which is a very good thing. This is a Bloomberg quick take if you want to watch it for yourself. How China plans to win the future of energy. It's 16 minutes, and I'm not going to be playing this for you, except I'm going to show to you a few relevant details. Of course, you can watch it yourself. There's a lot of companies that are trying to build upon the power plants, solar farms in many of the deserts, no? So this is an example of that. And then, of course, how China plans to win. I think this is very, very important to watch. So do try to watch this, how China plans to win in the future of energy. This is actually very relevant for anyone investing in the US and Hong Kong. Basically, why do you even want to invest? So I personally want to invest because I want to invest in solutions, the ones that will help have a reason. Number one, there has to be a reason for the world to benefit from it. That's why the world has to invest more on it. And also a reason that it will persist no matter if the Fed were to cut rates, raise rates, or whatsoever. So we can already see as well that in US, there's a $1.2 trillion Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. This was signed into law in 2021, benefiting many companies spending for many clean energy initiatives. This was in the US, but even in China, they actually outspend more. They're doing about 5 to 10 trillion I think $5 trillion initially with plans to actually grow it further. So you're seeing that China and US have very, very strong infrastructure deals when it comes to energy. So China's energy mix, you're seeing that 60% coal, hydro is 16, nuclear is just 5, biomass is 2, gas is 3, overwhelmingly coal, solar is small at 4, wind is 8, and then others. So there's really a lot of leeway to actually expand the solars, the winds, the nuclears, to actually grow the pie further in terms of market share. And China actually plans to have at least 1.2 terawatts of wind turbines and solar in 10 years. So from the west to where it's needed, they want to actually do this all throughout. I've been checking and updating my Chinese analysis on when it comes to green initiatives and green bonds. They actually launched green bonds to help the Chinese companies to actually be able to get the necessary capital financing to basically make a lot of the provinces, a lot of provinces and cities to depend on clean energy. Some of the provinces have done well with more than 30-50% already relying on renewable. When it comes to renewable, even hydropower is considered renewable. So you've got the need for all of these specialized direct current lines to basically distribute all that electricity. Let's all understand as well, Reuters reported in 2021, world's operating nuclear fleet is at 30-year low as new plants stall. We saw that in 2022, these things have changed for the better. At least the world's public opinion on nuclear has so far changed. We saw that Japan, we saw that US, we saw China, a lot of the Europe are actually already launching their own nuclear plans. And that's actually wonderful for the world. In fact, I tweeted that nuclear is really very cheap in terms of energy because when it comes to solar, you need 5 to 20 times more land mass because solar is really, it's about farms, it's a lot of land, it's a lot of hectares, deserts. So it's not necessarily going to be very effective worldwide. Whereas nuclear, once properly harnessed, once properly understood, TerraPower of US Wyoming opened, I think last year. I think this year. That was Warren Buffett and Bill Gates opening TerraPower. I think that already helps the world actually appreciate and eventually affordable nuclear energy for all of us, affordable electricity, no matter where, whether it's solar, hydro, or nuclear. hopefully available for us, and will be continually developed as we progress for the year 2030, as we all progress towards a zero carbon economy. Okay, so let's go again towards more of these news. So the stable, low-cost electricity is equal to a strong domestic manufacturing leadership. I do believe that China's investment in very strong, low-cost electricity is gonna make them have a super big moat when it comes to manufacturing anything. When it comes to manufacturing your iPhones, manufacturing your computers. So any company which with a very stable, low cost electricity, guys, will win the made in whatever in the future. So made in China will probably be a very very strong economy still when you think about the next 10 years, especially because China is the country that is very all in when it comes to clean energy. So one thing that I have not lost focus upon when I'm looking in China is actually to be on the aggressive when it comes to studying all the green initiatives, guys. So 150 nuclear plants are expected to be finished in 2037. This will be larger than the entire world. And obviously, China is buying up all the uranium in the world, which is basically the fuel when it comes to nuclear reactors. So for the atomic nuclear fission. So one of those companies that we identified that's going to be great to invest upon is URA, UUUU, and CCJ. Let's just repeat that. So this is URA. Let's take a look at the sector of URA, which is uranium. You'll see that this year, 2022, it was more of a consolidating movement for URA while the market was going haywire. It's very clear that uranium didn't really have a negative downtrend. No, all that it did was actually just consolidate all year long. It will go from 18 to 26, up and down, up and down. It was actually moving up and down irregardless of your S&P 500. So another look at this, if you're going to look at your Webull. So here, I'm going to show to you how easy it is to compare how uranium is doing versus, let's say, your S&P 500. So just click URA, go to the chart. Are you guys there? Wait lang let me see if I'm still talking to people. Yes, I hope that I'm still talking to anyone. All right. So you're seeing here that this is your URA, which is actually still negative 44% if you're going to look at the last 10 years, no? So you're looking at the fact that if we're going to invest in nuclear, we're not late, because even from an S&P 500 perspective, uranium is actually underperforming because over the last 10 years, the world never invested in nuclear yet. Like, let's take a look at your CCJ against your the same thing against your S&P 500. Your CCJ in the last 10 years merely was up 50%, whereas your S&P is 338%, telling you that the world has underinvested in all things uranium, even the largest uranium miner in the world, which is CCJ. Now, let's take a look at your solar, which is currently Enphase. Now, for Enphase, this has been a monster stock. So with solar, some names have already outperformed in the function of Enphase. So while the S&P 500 in the last 10 years was up just 280%, here you've got your Enphase rallying 4,000x. No, so 4,000%, or basically 40x your money. So you can see that investing in clean energy, specifically Enphase, although very topish already now, has been really the go-to winner over the last 7 to 10 years if you invested in solar, particularly on Enphase. So how does Tesla compare as comparison to the S&P 500? Now, Tesla is an 86x move, no? Over the last 10 years, you could have seen that the S&P 500, your $100 in your S&P has grown 300% over the last 10 years, but investing in Tesla would have made you much more, 86x. So yeah, I think that the recession or depression can actually affect Tesla valuation. In fact, it's still considered expensive today. So maybe a deeper decline for Tesla, even here to about 50x or 35x, would actually perhaps be an entry for us in Tesla. So we'll wait. But this is quite good if you notice in Webull that you can easily compare with just a click of a button, right? So let's go again to our discussion, which is how to invest in the uranium. Okay, so there's a question. My fave uranium stock is UEC. Yup. UEC and URG and DNN, these are actually very strong uranium candidates, especially in the small cap. So UEC, this is a very, very strong uptrend. You can see that the world doesn't really doesn't really have, you can see that this has been going up despite, guys, again, despite what the world is talking about. We are in a bear market, we are in a recession, we are in depression, the Fed will raise the rates this December 14. Yes, we agree. But how do we invest? And the answer is we invest in the future, which is energy stocks. And that means energy in solar, renewable, nuclear, wind, if you wish. It just so happens that nuclear is a function of the cheapest energy. And I believe in that. So, okay, so UEC, yeah, that is also a great stock name. And you are also seeing some smaller names like small caps like URG. URG is also a small cap name here in the uranium space. You're also seeing Denison Mines, DNN, also in the buy lists. So guys, of course, there are several ways to invest uranium, but those are just a few, not all, a few names that you can actually invest upon when you open your Webull accounts. Okay, so let's also discuss. So I said again and again, Webull, you can open an account, zero commission. That is very important. Zero commission. So if you buy $100 worth of uranium, a uranium name, whether it be UEC, CCJ, URG, and take a look at it for the next year, 6 months or 12 months. I think that would be a generally correct move because that is a secular winner. Of course, you may be able to get it cheaper if the markets fall. So you have to actually just practice your defined amount of risk when you buy into it. Investing has risks. Your money can go down. So you have to understand how much you're going to invest upon. Okay, so 63 megawatts solar project is completed in the Philippines as part of a 5 gigawatt renewable plan. So for those who aren't aware, as I said, megawatt usually means millions, and then gigawatt is actually billions. So this is quite big in terms of Ascen's project. It says here that AC Energy has already completed a 63 megawatt. This was done in 2021, and they have a bigger project to roll out 5 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2025. Whether they actually execute that or not is obviously going to be a function of management will and maybe political will as well to help AC to actually basically execute all of that effort. So speaking of Ascen, we can see that Ascen is a Philippine company. Ascen is listed in the Philippines. It has certainly gone up already, if you'll notice this. Over the last, so Ascen is not listed in the US, guys. So we were talking about Webull. Ascen is a Philippine listed company. So in order to invest in companies like these, you do have to open a Philippine account. So you can open like for Wealth Securities, which is wealthsec.net if you want, or you can open the usual like Call Financial, etc., etc. Now here, you can clearly see that the Philippine markets, Ascen has already gone from about less than $2, 2 peso to as high as 14 pesos here, and then subsequently fell 50%. I don't know if it will ever go from 7 back to 6 or 5. So far, it did actually have a short-term bottom here at 550. And then if you're actually looking on a longer-term scale, obviously, Ascen might actually not necessarily fall down below 5, might actually retest here at 5 and 6 for the next couple of weeks. We'll see how things go. But you can see that from a technical perspective, you've got a lot of resistances right now at 7.3 as it goes higher to 8 and 9. Coming from whom? From all the buyers below 6. So people who bought at below 6, below 5, and especially the buyers below 4, but actually profit take, just like many solar companies who aren't actually executing as much as they've promised. Okay, so let's go through another. So these are the Tarlac solar plant, currently in the Philippines' largest PV facility. This is 200 megawatts. This was shared by Solar Philippines or the SP NEC. You've got these companies. You can see that the Gigasol project's another step towards AC Energy's goal, overall goals, etc., etc. So far, I checked Google. It says the largest solar power plant is the Calatagan Solar Power Plant in Luzon, Philippines. So in terms of the mixes of energy, you can see that coal, gas, oil, nuclear, hydro, wind, solar storage. So the goals for 2019 versus 2050 is to actually increase the most for solar and wind. And we disagree with that because we believe that hydro and nuclear might actually be, actually more or less dapat nuclear should grow the fastest. in terms of political will, because nuclear is 24/7. It's not intermittent. So when you say not intermittent, hindi ka magkakaroon ng brownout. Unlike, say, solar and wind, the reason is because the sun doesn't shine all the time and wind doesn't blow as fast all the time. And also, sometimes there are hurricanes, there are windstorms. So you don't actually want to rely only on one energy source. So in some ways, an alternative energy future is what everyone aspires and wants to invest upon. So in fairness, if you're investing in all of them, I think all would be good, no? So you can see that the Philippines generally invested in coal, gas, and oil. That is very evident, not just in the Philippines, but also in China, the USA, because currently 80% of our energy demands is still in coal. So let's talk about those coal plants. Of course, the biggest coal plant in the Philippines is still Semirara and Aboitiz Power. And you can see that all year long, from 2021 to 2022, they still really benefited despite the general weakness of the Philippine Stock Index. So this was actually an outperform movement for Semirara, very strong outperformance on your DMC, which owns Semirara, also quite strong, right? Quite strong here. You can see that went from about 3 pesos here to about 10 pesos. And you've got the Aboitiz, which is actually also a coal plant in the Philippines, coal power and hydro. So Aboitiz Power. I'm not sure how much power FGen generates in the Philippines, but I would assume that because it also generates power, there might be people who are actually assuming that this 15 peso, 17 peso for first gen might actually be an energy play as well. Now, of course, we don't disagree with the oil and gas plays. So we've seen how a lot of the Philippine companies today haven't appreciated oil and gas. I can understand why, because our Philippine companies don't have oil and gas drillers. In the Philippines, we only have oil and gas refiners. So Petron is merely a refiner. Shell Philippines is just a refiner. Unlike actually ExxonMobil or Chevron or Devon, which we talked about in Awesome10X several weeks ago, months ago, we've been discussing uranium, we've been discussing all these energy names. We talked about how oil and gas drillers or shale companies, fracking related names, are the better companies that have the margin. So speaking of, does that mean that I believe that the crude oil is going to be quite substantially quite expensive over the next 10 years? I do believe that over the next 10 years, since we have a lack of supply, that energy would actually remain quite expensive, prohibitively expensive. So for those who actually think that inflation has peaked, it might have peaked, but it doesn't mean that it will actually fall. What it means is that if you see that oil has peaked at $100, it doesn't mean that 100 is going to go 50. All you see is that oil is going to stay above 80, 90, or even remain above 100 by next year or next few years, simply because we really lack inventory. And the world is consuming about 4 billion gallons of oil per day. So that's quite a lot for the world to consume. And even during the COVID pandemic, I think it was only reduced by, of course, it was reduced during the COVID pandemic because we weren't going out. But obviously, especially next year when China reopens, you aren't really expecting oil to actually oil consumption to actually fall. So when you're investing in the future, you have to understand that you want to invest in all levels of energy. So here we're looking at levelized cost of equity when it comes to energy, renewable energy. So here they're trying to see that solar residential rooftops are quite on the expensive side. Here at about $200. Nuclear is about $200. Gas peaking is $196. Coal is about $150. And if you add gas combined cycle, $74. So this is one of the reasons why until today, some people say that nuclear has not advanced as fast, nor solars. It's because there are still a lot of prohibitive costs, no? So residential rooftops. How about, and of course, you do have to have a house first before you have a solar PV residential rooftop, right? So it only is perhaps affordable for the majority of of people, those who have a house. So those are actually prohibitive reasons why solar is not advancing as fast as you think. Now, in terms of energy transition, although you can see that wind here is quite low cost, Wind is not for everyone. Not all countries have sufficient strong winds. So wind has been very, very powerful in Norway, in the upper north. Yeah, so there. Okay, let's talk about a few things. And when it comes to efficiency, as I said, it's actually just 25%, no? So when somebody says, okay, I installed 100 megawatts, the actual electricity that they actually can give you is just 25 megawatts because the utilization is just 25%, no? 22, 23. You can see that the most efficient solar panels as of March 2022 was SunPower, Canadian Solar, LG, Panasonic, Jinko Solar. So when you see these, are these all your ideas for buys? And the answer is yes. We have ideas to buy and invest in the solar panels, the most efficient solar panels. And so let's go and look at the charts as well. SunPower is here. We have been promoting SunPower since the beginning. And it continues to actually be more of a buy low type of company. So you can see that this year, SunPower has been in a volatile roller coaster round. It's gone from about 28 to 13, goes back to 28, then goes down to 13, 16, then now at 24. So you can clearly see that SunPower has been doing the roller coaster moves. There's a question, FGen is bouncing, so I bought some shares last week. Let's see if it repeats. Yeah, we'll see. But so far, I believe that investing in energy is gonna take time. It's more of a fundamental call, really, rather than just technical. So we'll see whether we are going to be correct. This is more of a secular reason why we're looking at them. So SunPower is more of an investment in solar panels. So it's really more of a buy low and the sell high if you're going to do that. You can see that Canadian Solar is the same thing here. Buy low, sell high, no? So you can see Canadian Solar, also one of the most efficient solar panels. Maction is the solar panel actually of SunPower. So this is really the manufacturing of SunPower. Ito yun. This is a subsidiary of SunPower, si Maction. So SunPower is more on the installation na eh. Yung manufacturing area ng solar panel is Maction. There's of course companies like First Solar in America, solar panels, super strong. This is the only solar panel maker in USA. So they're using carbide, thermo, whatever, silicon. So ganon, efficient din yan. Look at that movement. First Solar has really outperformed this year. Let's take a look at Jinko Solar, which is one of the strongest solar companies in China. Jinko Solar is actually also very strong. You can see that it was up, so far for the week, it has always been supported, no? Sinosupportan sa 38, it's now 49. So these are our fundamental ideas, guys. As I said, I repeat, fundamental. So they could be great opportunities to buy maybe a few months from now. But if you don't, yeah, so it's important that you look at them. How about the largest utility firms when it comes to US solar installation? When it comes to the next 4 to 5 years, the largest is Next Era Energy or NEE. Then you have EDF, then Invenergy, So the rest, I don't know if they're listed, but I am aware of Next Era Energy. So Next Era Energy is the largest, and this is NEE. It's also very, very strong, as you can see, quite an outperformer. So these are where the best companies in our view is residing. Impact on solar stocks. Basically, we believe that the solar manufacturers, solar installers, and residential versus utility. So it really depends on where you want to actually invest upon. So when it comes to utility scale, we're talking about the solar farms here, no? So mas mura talaga solar farms because PV, thin film utility scale, those are what's happening right now in deserts. They're actually just setting up a lot of solar panels, then they have solar farms there, and they just really do a storage. And then so far, mahal yung storage. Storage is making electricity of solar 3 times more expensive. So we'll see whether that can be fixed over time, over technology. So far, you're seeing US electricity generation by source. Coal is still the biggest. Solar is super small, and maybe things can further change. Fossil fuels, 60% total. So petroleum, natural gas, and coal. Yun. So there's leeway to grow a lot of the sources. It says here that US solar panel prices have been the highest in the world. There was tariffs harming the US economy. So those are things that could change over time. the China solar tariffs under 3 different presidential administrations. You're noticing that because of the US, it might take until March 2023 before solar panels in America will be cheaper, because right now most of the solar panels are being so they're actually importing pa from Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. So iniikot lang ng US para lang to avoid those China-US tariffs. So yun, next era commentary said that we believe 2.1 to 2.8 gigawatts of our expected solar and storage build may shift from 2022 to 2023. So they're expecting next year to be a stronger move for their renewable energy production. 17,000 megawatts of renewable energy are produced by the company, 3/6 of which, or about 20%, are from utility solar farms. So US solar manufacturers are already sold out of panels until 2024, and we are only capable of servicing 10 to 20% of US domestic demand. So look at Enphase na rin. 80% of US revenues, of Enphase revenues are generated from the US market, and 26% of any solar energy system began construction during 2020 is gonna only start until 2022. Okay, so there's still a lot of things. Solar Edge says that they have a huge concentration with helping 2 distributors, which is Sunrun and CED, Consolidated Electrical Distributors. The former is one of the largest privately owned electrical distributors in US with 700 locations. So yun. Jinko Solar is a Chinese holding company serving customers in China, US, Europe, Middle East, and South America. Canadian Solar is serving USA. And also actually Japan. So yun, it's global, but mostly yun, yung dalawang countries na yun. China Solar Energy could lead companies' climate change fight. Sini Solar is actually cheap right now, 968, something for you guys to actually put in your watch list. Sini Solar has gone down from about 13, 14 here during May. Bumagsak siya to about 7 to 8 along with Hang Seng Index. So there are those opportunities. That's what I'm saying. Na even if we're looking to buy solars, sometimes makukuha mo siya below moving averages. There's a question that we answer na rin. Which industry do you think will be the fastest when the bull market returns? Technology stocks, pharmaceuticals, energy, and gold. I think I answered already that the future is energy. So the strongest and the fastest is going to be energy. So actually, since we're in the topic, when we talk about energy, we're not talking simply about renewable energy. In fact, the strongest until now, all-time highs, is all energy names. So you can see the following names actually trading at all-time highs. Shale companies like Devon. Let's talk about some names like Valero. These are all-time highs. Pwedeng bumaba yan, pero pataas yung galaw na yan. APA Corporation, tingnan mo yung galaw. Lahat yan all-time highs. So the strongest moves, well, if not all-time high, reversal to all-time highs, no? So APA Corporation. We talked about these names. Equinor. If you just go back to our Awesome10X investing classes that are free, yan, all-time highs yan. Equinor is in Oslo, Norway, pero listed din yan sa US as in the New York Stock Exchange, EQNR. Yan yung mga strongest names, guys. How to invest in energy. The answer is not technology. In fact, I believe that this year or this decade is going to be all into the energy names. So people would actually sell their Tesla, they'll sell their Amazon in exchange for even an Apple. They'll probably sell a little of that. Apple, Microsoft, Google, they'll sell that. Portions of that will go into energy names pa rin. And when it comes to energy, marami. Pwedeng coal, oil, gas, natural gas. It can go to solar, nuclear. So it will get spread out. Pwedeng may wind. Okay, so Chinese solar companies, this is something that you have to also understand that there are issues of forced labor. Of course, you've seen Apple, yung iPhone factory ngayon, di ba? May mga lockdowns, etc. So this cannot be, how should I say this? Every now and then, human rights issues will happen in China, which makes investing in Chinese names that are in the solar actually always volatile. So may mga Xinjiang claims, and then detainment of products because of human rights abuses. The Biden administration made a crackdown. So they, Longi Solar, they are not allowed. Jinko Solar, Canadian Solar, China Solar, having a hard time to actually get purchased. You remember the semiconductor war then, the chip war of US and China. So those are risks that you have to understand when you're investing in the future of energy, because this US-China war and tensions will never really leave us. So ito for solar, wala kasi siyang tension kasi for solar is USA. You'll notice na nung May, 60 to 72, pati ako nagulat, 168 na siya ngayon. So all-time high siya all the way from 60 nag 180 times 3 yan in just 6 months for solar. So major solar companies right now in China like GCL Poly, Jinko Solar, sabi may mga human rights abuses. So yun, may human rights abuses, may forced labor. So yung mga Chinese names, yun lang, ingat din kasi alam naman natin sa China, they probably don't pay the best wages in the world. Okay, so China's PV industry brief, Tongwei and Jinko team up. NEA sets a new 2030 target. So when it comes to National Energy Administration, since 2021, 2022, you'll always see this, guys. Of course, the government of China disputed any presence of forced labor. They said that all the employment is voluntary. It's just a rumor created by anti-China media. There's no such thing as a forced labor. Of course, there are also other private firms trying to take on the solar roof of Tesla. There's a lot of other geniuses trying to address the solar roof problems. So yan, mga companies no to watch out. So Canadian Solar, if you'll notice, nung May, it was 31. Ngayon, 34. So talaga, when it comes to mga tariffs, yun yung big problem, no? Unlike yung US na solar, yung first solar, nag times 3, ito 10% up lang. Unveiling, of course, no 2022, they are shifting their target control over upstream supply. So Pivot Energy develops solar community platform portfolios. Duke Energy is energizing their first solar plant in Florida. So you're seeing actually more and more oil and gas companies, traditional companies in the coal, oil and gas, investing in the renewable. Solar tax credits having an incentive. Canadian Solar said that they would invest $850 million in a capacity expansion plan. However, all this is in China and Thailand. So we'll see if they will be able to actually deliver that to USA. Yun. Hopefully, diba? Hopefully China and US can make an exception when it comes to solar. Yeah, so Canadian Solar named US as its leading 5 markets since 2022. So that's the reason why they're not sure if they can hit guidance. Nonetheless, for 2022, they still said that they can hit 5.1 gigawatts. Revenues will come in 2.3 billion. Gross margin is unchanged. So far, actually, all the solar firms have been beating estimates. That's one of the reasons why I can tell you that from a stock pick per se, or a secular sector pick per se, we haven't changed our fundamental bullishness on renewable energy. It happens to all of them. So Sini Solar said that shares in Sini Energy, who voted through 512 million purchase of a 520 megawatt of Chinese PV generation capacity for Sini Solar. So actually sa Sini Energy, dalawa yan, the company Sini Energy, bumili yan actually, may insider buying sa $2 to Hong Kong, 3868. It's now 2.4 over the last couple of weeks. Pero that might actually still be sold off, no? Below moving average pa rin tong Sini Energy. From about 6, bumagsak sa ng 2. So, ingat lang sa Hong Kong and China. Hindi sila ganun ka-transparent. Pero this is something that we should know about. So, millions of homes represents the percent of the country's total. Yun. And then, of course, maraming nagsasabi na how about utilizing fuel cells, hydrogen gas. You can see that yung Bloom Energy, sinuportahan din sa 12, tapos umangat naman sa 21. So, parang may support din sa mga other energy na hindi as used, it's not as cheap. No? So, what's happening, I think, worldwide is because we are trying to avoid a climate crisis, climate disaster, governments and individuals have to work hand in hand to really make an outcome of as much as possible transitioning our energy sources not necessarily going away from dirty fuel, but really trying our best to have all of these solar, renewable, nuclear, wind, lahat yan, even the hydrogen gas and fuel cell, give it all a shot, because what's at stake here is actually the entire world. Because if we all end up getting overheat, no, with the 2 degrees Celsius, I don't think planet life in Earth is gonna be good. So you might say, patay ka na nun by 2100, as the scientists are imagining it to be. We will go to the dinosaur primitive age by then. But that also means that in the next 10 years, patay ka in terms of heavy rainfall, hurricanes, wildfires, your polar ice caps are melting. There's actually a lot of migration already happening, not just of us, not just of people, but actually of animals and birds, and maraming mutation nangyayari, guys. So I think everyone was saying that inflation is brought about by this massive $1 trillion stimulus of USA. I think that's just one part. But really, the big part of inflation is that the population is growing and we have no enough land. We don't have enough sources of food. We don't have supply. Basic common sense that commodities like food, water itself is going to be quite difficult to say it's going to be cheap next couple of decades. Buti na lang, cheap pa yung water ngayon. So, yun. Hope that I answered questions, and that's my view. See you again next week, and hope that you can share to all your friends how Filipinos can invest in global stocks via Singapore's Webull app. And I hope you learned a little bit of our Captain Planet love, which is how do we address these climate change crisis and how do we make money from it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.